Hey, good morning, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We have got a great second half show for you today. Uh, there is an area of law that's becoming more and more important as time goes by, and we have somewhat of an older audience. So we get so many letters, people asking us, why do you not do an estate planning show? Well, we have an estate planning show in many of our markets, but we haven't had one in the South Florida area, but we do now. We have with us attorney Andrew Rosenberg. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, Steve-O. How you doing?
Yeah, it's a great day in South Florida. We're so glad. We had so many people that contacted us after the show. Uh, we're excited about this show. One person even bragging. He said, I'm the one who told you to do this show. Uh, People loved your first show, by the way. They were
Wow,
so
what a
impressed.
shocker.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, you're going to be a movie star. Before we get started, you do workshops, Andrew,
Yes.
and you've got a workshop coming up this month. Tell people about that.
Yeah, so lately I've been doing workshops about every 2 weeks in different locations. Right now we've been doing them in the Plantation, Florida area, the Coral Springs area, and the Pembroke Pines area. And we kind of rotate it around every 2 weeks. And the current topic that we've been doing is something called Estate Planning Essentials. And they're held at a Total Wine at the different locations, and they actually serve a little bit of wine, and we have a good time, and I have some food for everybody, and we talk for about an hour and 15 minutes about all sorts of things that are very important in my viewpoint regarding estate planning issues. And I have it set up so that it's a very open ask question type of format, and I expect clients that are there or people that are there to ask questions, and I really want it to be informative. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been getting a fantastic response.
And that's February 26th at 5:30.
Yeah, this one next one is going to be February 26th, 5:30, and it's going to be at the Total Wine in Plantation, Florida, which the address is 801 South University Drive, Suite G is in George 100, and again that's in Plantation. But if you call my office and speak to the office at 954-755-7803, and you have an interest in coming, you need to call the schedule that you would like to attend because reservations are required.
Well, we are doing a scroll right now if you're watching on YouTube, but most of our uh, listeners are on iHeart right now. So we'll be giving out that phone number again. Andrew, tell people about your practice.
So my practice is estate planning, wills, trust, estate planning, and probate, and also elder law, which deals with Medicaid planning as well, which is a whole specialized niche area. So those are the main areas of my practice, and that's what I've been doing since I graduated law school way back in 1994. I have a small little area that we still practice in the personal injury arena, but that is winding down as we speak. We are basically 99% wills, trust, estate planning, probate, and elder law planning. And
And I
I'm a
want people to know that you also, because we got some calls from uh, Palm Beach
yeah,
Gardens uh, wanting to know you cover all of South Florida.
yeah. I mean, I cover the whole state. I've had clients from Jacksonville all the way down to the Miami, the Keys area. As far as clients that need my services, you don't have to be in the local area for me to be working with you. And what changed that, believe it or not, Steve-O, was COVID. I mean, when COVID happened, it was crazy. I mean, what's interesting is that estate planning in general, since I've been practicing law back in 1994 to today, has gone down as far as people doing things to plan. People don't like the only thing I can attribute it to is that people don't like to think about their own demise. And so it's just, for whatever reason, nationally, it's gone down since I've been in practice and it continues to go down. I will tell you that the one time it shot up like crazy was COVID, because unfortunately, it was a crazy scenario where people obviously were dying from this horrible disease or virus that we got. And all of a sudden, everybody was freaking out and they were like, oh my God, I need to get my estate plan in order. So it got to be very interesting and very chaotic. But what was crazy is, if you remember back then, obviously it wasn't that long ago, that um, you weren't meeting with people because, we had to keep our distances. So what happened was, I would do a lot of Zoom office hours with the clients. So I would, like we do here on our radio show, I would meet with people on Zoom, and they would be in Jacksonville or Palm Beach or Tampa or wherever they might be, and I would be doing an estate plan over the phone with them and over the computer, and then I would email them the documents, and then they would get them notarized and signed and send them back to me. So it's kind of interesting. And then what happened, which was even more crazy, Steve-O, is the local client base, when I did the estate plan, I would have them come and sit in the parking lot in their car. And then I would have to go out there with a face mask on with the legal documents and have them sign everything. And then I'd have my witnesses in the waiting room looking out the window, seeing that they're signing, and then bring everything in to get witnesses signed. And then we would get everything scanned in, and then I'd walk out and give them all the documents. So it was a crazy time. But yes, the long-winded answer is I can do clients all throughout the state of Florida, but I am not licensed anywhere else.
Well, I got to tell people something. This is our 15th year of Ask the Experts, and I got to tell you, so we handle all different areas of law. But Andrew, there's something about estate planning that it takes a certain type person to work in estate planning. I mean, you're talking about people that, what's going to happen after they pass and their children. And you and I spent about an hour the first time talking. And I'm going to tell people before we get into our educational aspect of the show, you really do care about people. And that is what's so important about when it comes to estate planning.
Yeah, I mean, I love dealing with people. I mean, I've always been a people person. In fact, my dad, may he rest in peace, was a doctor, but also on the side in his later years ended up doing some other business ventures, and one of them was like personality testing. And he made me do a personality test when I was back in high school, and I tested higher than anybody ever tested as far as dealing with people. And he says, he told me, says, whatever you do, just make sure you deal with the communication and dealing with people face to face, because you have a natural gift for that. And so that's how I don't know how I ended up in estate planning as far as the law, but I ended up here. I've always liked dealing with all sorts of ages. I do very well dealing with elderly people. I guess I have a lot of patience. I am Midwestern. Maybe that helps. I am from Indiana, so maybe I have a little bit more patience than a lot of the people that are more East Coast, New York, New Jersey type people, where they're from. I have no idea. Nothing against that area of the country. But yeah, I really like dealing with people. I really like helping people. I think I would have been a doctor. My whole family's in medicine, but unfortunately, when I was growing up, my youngest sister ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. So I grew up in the house dealing with medicine and chemotherapy and all that stuff. And it was all throughout my growing up years. And unfortunately, she passed away when she was 19 years old and I was 21. And I think that kind of pushed me away from the medical field, but it made me realize how important lawyers were, because I remember meeting with lawyers, making sure that everything was set in a place for my parents and for my sister and everything else. So maybe that's how I ended up doing the estate planning arena.
Andrew, we get so many emails because we're really a national show but we position our show on a local basis. And I get so many people that are think they're in great health and they really don't need estate planning right now, or they don't think they are multimillionaires. They put that stigma, estate planning. But I got to tell you, every time there is a catastrophe, whether it's in the fires in Los Angeles or the hurricanes in North Carolina, those people didn't expect to pass away, no matter how young or how healthy they were. And what we want with this show is we don't want you to wait until it's too late. So we use this show to educate you. And, I keep reverting back to Prince, who had millions of dollars, Andrew, and passed away without a will. How do you do that with all the different managers he had?
Yeah, I mean it's a shame, but I mean there's more. Steve-O, you hear that more often than you want to hear it in regards to the celebrity side of the equation. Unfortunately, I think all these managers that they have, the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand, and then
Yeah.
things get pushed through the cracks. And unfortunately, estate planning is usually one of those things that people don't even want to talk about anyways. And then when you got these managers worried about how Prince is going to make, what concert he's doing, what movie he's doing, whatever he's going to do, it's not high on the list dealing with his estate plan because he was young when he passed away. So that happens. I mean, people don't expect to die. We know we're all going to, but they all think we're going to live a long life, and things happen. Unfortunately, I'll tell you a quick story. I actually have on my voicemail, I played in a workshop. I have a gentleman who was my landscaper, and he did my landscaping for years and years, and then I went on to a different landscaping company. He called me out of the blue about 4 or 5 months ago, and he left a message for me saying, "Hey, Andy, I know you do estate planning, wills, trusts, all that stuff. I really think I want to sit down and talk to you." And that was a voicemail. So I left him a message that night, returning his call, didn't hear from him. I called him again next day, left a message, didn't hear from him. I then waited a few days and called again, and his wife picked up the phone, and she told me he dropped dead of a heart attack later that day.
Oh my gosh.
From after he called me. She couldn't believe that he actually called me to schedule a consultation.
Wow.
So my point is, and when I talk in my workshops, I tell people, listen, you don't think he planned to have a heart attack that day when he called me, but things happen. And unfortunately, that's life. And we have to face the fact, and you need to be responsible, not just for you, but for your wife and kids or family members, cousins, whoever you want to give things to. You need to make sure it's set up so that we don't have problems when it is your time.
Yes, we just got our first text from Robert and Davy, and it's amazing because this was one of my first questions. He wants to know, why do I need to sit down and do estate planning?
Okay, well, great question, Robert. And my response to you is because it's the right thing to do for your family to make sure your assets go the way you want it to go. So here, one of the biggest things that people have a misunderstanding out there about Steve-O is they think that if they don't plan, that things are just going to go, that it just happens. And it does. But unfortunately, it costs a lot of money for that to happen when you don't plan. So what we want to do, Robert, in this situation, is you want to meet with an estate planning or elder law attorney, and you want to plan and organize your estate. And here, Robert, this is to you directly. People always talk about dying. It's more than just dying. A lot of times, most of the time, we don't just die. We actually become disabled or incapacitated. And then there's a whole separate court system that gets involved if you're not organized and you haven't planned properly, called guardianship court. Yeah, Steve-O, you ever watch the news at night when like an elderly person gets taken advantage of by a younger person, and then they're in the court and the court's trying to help the older person?
See it all the time.
That's guardianship. So, and what happens is if you are over 18 and you become disabled or incapacitated and you don't have the proper documents, such as a durable power of attorney or anything like that, you're going to go through, or healthcare surrogate, all these things, you're going to go through the court system. And that's going to cost your family a lot of money. Why? Because you have to hire someone like me, an attorney, to deal with it. And guess what? Attorneys don't work for free. So my answer to that question, Robert, is why do I need to do this? Is one, because you may not die, you may become disabled, and you want to make sure things are organized that way. And then we are going to die, Robert. And then the question becomes, how are your assets going to get distributed? And are they going to be distributed in an efficient manner? Or are they going to be distributed in a long, expensive manner? That's the purpose of meeting with an attorney and hopefully planning properly.
Andy, one of the things you said to me, which God, you don't hear this a lot from attorneys, is you said to me, I want to keep my clients out of probate because probate can become so expensive. And here you're saying, I want to keep them out of probate. And the expensive part is the legal fees.
Correct. Yeah, it's probate's really expensive. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you about other states because I'm not licensed in those states. I can just tell you in Florida, there is a statute that tells us what we should charge. What is the presumed reasonable fee for probate? So let me give you an example, Steve-O. Let's say that I pass away and I have my house and it's in my name alone and I die. And my house today is valued at $1 million, just for ease of purposes. That's a $30,000 legal fee right there. So
wow.
Florida, the Florida statute presumes a 3% attorney fee for probate. And here's the other thing, Steve-O. And I think unfortunately, I think there's just tons of misinformation out there. I think a lot of it has to do with the movies, actually. So you ever watch a movie and like at the end someone passes away and then they show you in the attorney's office in the conference room and the attorney's sitting there reading the will and then the credits roll and then that's the end, right? That's the end, and then everyone gets their share. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, that's just the beginning of the process. When you have a will and you have assets in your name alone when you die, you're going to go through probate court. And then if you don't have a will and you have assets in your name when you die, you're going to go through probate court. Probate court. Either way, with a will or without a will, you're going through the system, unfortunately. So what I like to do is try to analyze everyone and determine what's the best avenue to take to try to avoid that big expense because it adds up pretty quickly.
Here's a text from Coral Springs. Richard in Coral Springs, really enjoying your show. Your expert handled one of my relatives, and he did a great job. Thank you for bringing us a show like this. This text right here, great text. This is what this show is about. This is not a info commercial. I mean, Andy takes the time out of his busy day, and we're here to educate you because when it comes to estate planning, there's so many different areas, and we just got a text about someone wanting to know what elder law is when it comes to estate planning. So maybe you can touch on that, but that's what this show is about.
Yeah. Listen, that's why I do these workshops. I want to educate, and people ask questions like we're getting right now, and I answer those questions. You may not like the answers, but I'm going to answer those questions, and I'm going to go through a lot of material at those workshops. But to answer the other question about what is elder law, that is different. Okay, so there's estate planning, and then there's elder law. Okay, and it's a specialty.
Two different
in the same area of law, okay, but a different specialty. And I do both. But elder law, the best way I describe elder law is planning for Medicaid, trying to make sure that we have everything set in place so that our assets don't get eaten away if we have to go into an assisted living or nursing home facility? How do we organize things properly to make sure the assets don't go to the nursing home or assisted living facility and stay within the family, and then you still get your coverage and everything set into place? That's more elder law. So what people need to understand is that when you need to go into a assisted living or home health care or a nursing home care, there's three ways that that's going to get paid for. The first way is if we're lucky enough and we plan far enough ahead, you have long-term care insurance. That's what it's for. It's meant for that purpose. Luckily, I have my in-laws who've had to use it recently for some illness stuff, and it's kicked in and it's done exactly what it's supposed to do, which is great. So the best way to deal with it, if you have it, is the long-term care insurance. If you don't have that, then guess what, Steve-O? We have your assets pay for it. So your assets are going to pay for the assisted living and for the nursing home care and everything else. And then those are going to get dwindled down until there's next to nothing, and then Medicaid kicks in. So I try to plan with elder law to make sure that those assets don't get dwindled. That's what it is. That's elder law. And I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to make sure we answer that question.
Yeah, God, this show goes by so fast. Tell people how they can reach you.
So a couple ways. Obviously, our office number, and we're located in Coral Springs, right off of University and the Sawgrass Expressway. The office number is 954-755-7803. And then my email is andrew@rosenberglawfirm.net. That's Andrew@Rosenberg, ROSENBERG, law firm, and it's .net, not .com.
Well, I had about 20 more questions, but your show goes by so fast. We've actually talked, we're going to do the show twice a month now. And then you can go back on iHeart through their library, Ask the Experts radio show, and you can listen to the show again. Andrew's with us twice a month. Andrew, thank you so much. It's so great to have your show for South Florida.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed doing it for everybody.
Take care, buddy.
You too.